Welcome to the Palo Santo and Thoughts podcast. As I light the Palo Santo, let us reset the space, allowing new energy and new thoughts to enter. What was does not automatically become what is, and even if it does, it does not mean it always will. Let us release what we must to receive what we must. It is mine. It is yours. What is for us will always be Ashe.
Welcome back. What's up to the old homies? What's up to the new homies? I'm Carter, and this is the Palo Santo and Thoughts podcast. Today, I'm joined with one of the homies, Canvas.
Yes, sir.
Canvas is a musician, a business owner from the Bronx, and welcome to the podcast, bro. Hey, VS.
My fault. I didn't mean to give a little semi.
Hey, no, it's all good, man. It's all good. I disturbed the VX, man. My bad, man.
Had to put my eyes closed with that one, throwing it up, but bro.
For sure, man. Is there anything that you want to share with the homies?
It's your boy Canvas. I mean, we out here from the BX, representing luminous lifestyle to the day I die. Peace and blessings to all the kings and queens. We baby. Let's get it on. You heard? Thank you for having me, Carter.
For sure, man. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to our conversation, bro.
Yes, likewise.
Yeah. All right. So for the homies that are new to the podcast, in season 1, pretty much we talked about All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks. And in each of the episodes, I shared more of my personal experiences and kind of really highlighted the different things that stood out to me from each of those chapters. And in season 2 of the podcast, I've been joined with different homies. And so, in those episodes, we've talked about just, their experience, my experiences, and, really talking about all about love, even if it's not related directly to the book, still bringing in our experiences. And so excited for you all to tune into this new episode. And with that being said, Canvas, with you being a guest, I always love to just do like a proper check-in of just like, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It was the commute over here though. Anybody know coming from the BX to Brooklyn be a little wild, but once whether you get out the train or you get out that Uber, you stretch and you still feel like you home because you are home. You know what I mean, New York. But aside from that, I've been doing good, just continuing the process of just building, overall everything, physically, spiritually, mentally, financially, all that. You know?
That's good. Yeah. And so building is, you mentioned building, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But yeah, I feel you on that, man. I feel like I go to the Bronx decently often for work, and so anytime I'm like, but the weekend is definitely different than the weekday.
Facts.
Like the weekend,
construction city, like what's up with y'all?
I'm like every train is just delayed, it's not working. You just like, well, during the weekday it's like a little bit more, it's like all right, it's like an hour and some change. So I appreciate you making that track, man, for sure, man. You shared how you're doing. I also want to know, before we get into the episode, some of the things that we always like to talk about is like grace, and grace is like being conscious of. So really thinking about that. How have you been showing grace to yourself recently?
I'll say, all right, so I saw some post on Instagram, right, about some guys. He was giving like a speech, like a TED talk or something like that, right? And he was like, "Yo, write down 20 things that you feel like is holding you back or that you need to do in order to reach a certain amount financially in the next 12 months or something like that, right?" So I feel like I actually did this, I think yesterday morning, actually, and it was a bunch of, I feel like, write a minimum of 20, but in the first like 10, it gets easy, and then after it starts to get a little hard, but the ones that get closer to 20 is like stuff that you really need to do.
Yeah.
So I feel like things like that, or like taking a break from like me smoking or whatever, is just like centering back, which is like giving grace to me or like my younger self,
Yeah.
and like my real self, you know, without any influence, you know, it's like yeah, those is it. Those is like, you know, I feel like just things in that nature of just I forget the word at the off the top of my head.
Made me think about discipline.
Yeah, discipline. But also, what do you call that? Certain like damn,
Regiments.
regiments, activities, or certain like, you know, just trying to check yourself.
Accountability.
Yeah, accountability. There you go. Just taking accountability for sure. You know, whether that be like waking up earlier. You know, I feel like I've been showing grace to myself, just centering back, really.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Yeah, man. I feel like for me, grace has just been it's like leaning into like some joy. You know what I mean? So like one of the things that like I did, because I, you know, with just things like feeling like a little bit more busier, it's important to have those things that you look forward to, or at least for me, you know. And so recently, like I was able to like go to this dope event that was really good, and it reminded me of like I've been, you know, putting in a lot of work, and that was like that one moment of like, oh, you had a chance to kind of do something for you, you know what I mean? So that was like one of the ways in which I've showed grace to myself recently, is just, you know, investing in things that I can look forward to in the midst of those like moments where it might be tough or challenging. It's like, all right, well, at least I have this little thing or this thing, a big thing or whatever thing that I'm looking forward to, and it can bring or serve as like a moment of like joy and celebration, you know? So that's what that's looked like for me. So for the homies, would love for you all to think about how you can, you know, show grace to yourself as well. You know, just thinking about life is happening, we're moving and grooving things. But we got to be kind to ourselves, y'all. We deserve it. You deserve it. We deserve it. So, yeah, make sure you can think about, or I find a way to commit to showing some more grace to yourself. All right? And so, yeah, I'm glad we got a chance to talk about that grace, you know, and now we're moving to the space, you know, we're moving closer to the conversation. And before we get there, I always love just like set intentions of, you know, what we want this space to look like, because we are co-creating this space, you know. And so with that, you know, what is an intention that you want to put into the space for this conversation?
I'll say peacefulness. Just being, however I look, like, you know, just having peace with myself, and whatever I'm saying is like not overthinking it.
Yeah.
You know, from leaving and be like, oh shit, was I too vulnerable, or was I too, whatever the case may be. You know, all them thoughts that trickle after. And also with you as well, you know what I mean? Just hearing what you got to say, you know what I mean? Just being kind to one another, kind of going back with grace, but overall, the word that pops up is peacefulness.
I also heard ease as well.
Ease.
Yeah, like with just like kind of not overthinking, just kind of like letting it flow, and, you know, creating that a space where there can be ease, but then also like at peace with whatever comes from this. You know?
Yeah,
So I love that. I love that. I'm aligned with that as well. You know, so by the end of this, you know, the goal is to be able to say like, we did that.
Facts.
You know. So now we're at our favorite part, which is pretty much, you know, of course, the name of the podcast is Palo Santo and Thoughts. And so I have this Palo Santo stick right here.
Yes, sir.
You know, it's about to light the Palo Santo stick, y'all.
Light it up.
So if you don't know, y'all ready? I think y'all ready. The Palo Santo stick is lit. Hey, the Palo Santo stick is lit.
One more time.
Hey, the Palo Santo stick is lit.
2 times.
Hey, the Palo Santo stick is lit. Is lit.
It's lit, baby. If you got one at home, make sure you like that.
Like that Palo Santo stick. Nah, man. Appreciate you joining in, man.
No problem.
I always tell people, I'm like, man, you know, just the smell of it. It's like taking a chance to just even inhale it. You know what I mean?
I feel like that it brings the intention, like peacefulness.
Exactly. Yeah. So now we've lighted the Palo Santo stick. Let's get into these thoughts. And so the inspiration behind this podcast, or the foundation, I would say it came from All About Love, New Vision by Bell Hooks. And in the beginning of the book, she talked about like this graffiti work that she would walk by. And it said, the search for love continues even in the face of great odds. And so would love to hear from you. Why do you believe the search for love must continue even in the face of great odds?
I'll say because that's like shit. Because love is the universal language.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like I feel like the more like you just experience or how do you say? I don't want to use the word like. I guess I'm just use the word like clean up. You know, clean up your act and whatever the case may be. Is like you just showing love to yourself. But it's like I think we had a talk about this before about just like sometimes in order to build you gotta destroy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so just walking through that. Like I always heard a quote like, "Oh, if you're going through hell, keep going."
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, what are they talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But then I'm understanding it. It's like the more you going, it's like just going through a certain experience and trials and tribulations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you're gonna be like centering back to who you always was,
Mm-hmm.
and what we are is just like light in a different form of energy,
Yeah.
and it's just moving with love.
Yeah.
So the odds really be coming for like all this odd shit that society done put into play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if none of this was even over here, we won't even be looking at it as really odd. You know?
Yeah.
We'll just look at it as just is.
Yeah.
You know, so. But after going through the oddness and you give grace,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you recognize that it just is. And it's like, oh shit, all right, cool. This is what they labeled it as. We going through this, and everything just brings it back to love.
Mm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I guess that's not. I guess that's what I think.
Mm. And you know, because it's like you mentioned, like the reality is that there might be challenges, and granted, some of the challenges that we have to navigate through life is because of societal stuff. You know what I mean? But also, in what I'm hearing in that is like the reminder of like by persevering through those different challenges, we get to learn. And so even in the midst of like the challenges of I guess the parts that might feel not favorable when it comes to love, that like understanding that there's something at the end of it,
Right.
where it's like, this is worth it. This is who we get to be because of it is actually like a better version or a higher version of who we want to be.
Correct.
So that I understand that, man. I definitely understand that.
And can I another thought that popped up was what's your favorite thing you like to cook in breakfast time?
So I've really been fucking with some like vegan sausage and eggs, and then I do like some toast.
All right, vegan sausage and eggs.
Mm-hmm.
You never burnt your eggs before,
I have.
or just made that joint whack?
Yes, a couple times.
That's the oddness.
Mm-hmm.
But when you made that shit that was busting, you done love that joint extra. You know what I mean? So I guess that's an example of just searching for love through the oddness. You know what I mean? Just continue to persevere. You know what I mean? Just that's an example that I like to use.
You know, it made me think about like the factor, because it's like sometimes it's not gonna always be the best.
Right.
It's not gonna always be your most favorite version of that, but it still can be something that can nourish you, or it can be something that you can get from. Like, there's still something that you can get from the uniqueness of it, even if it's not like that the ideal way. Which I think was kind of connected to what we were talking about earlier about just like lessons, right? It's like sometimes, life can teach us these different lessons, and our ability to, like, what we gain from those lessons can prepare us for what's next, So yeah, it made me think about that when you said that,
Fire.
Yeah. So with in the book All About Love, one of the things that like she was like talking about was how men tend to be practitioners. Theorists of love, and women tend to be practitioner. And so what I was curious, and I will name this right. Like I feel like nowadays there are more men who are leaning into the practice of love. When you hear like love practitioner, what does that look like for you? Like, do you feel like you're someone who would you consider yourself like a practitioner of love?
To be honest, like for all my viewers out there, you gotta have the definition of practitioner.
That's true. That's
Because
true.
I don't even personally know what that even means.
Yeah.
Like to be honest, so you're gonna have to break that down too. And what do you mean by practitioner?
Yeah. So like practitioner in the sense of like someone you practice. Like is it like an action? Like are you someone who you do it in practice, you do it in action. So like love theorists is like we could talk about the ideas of it, right? But like and have ideas of what we think it means. But then there's some people who actually put action to what it means to love. So like a love practitioner is like, do you feel like do you put actions to how you love? Or is it just something that is like just all talk essentially?
Nah, you gotta put action.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like people when they all talk.
Mm-hmm.
Just in general, but especially for love, like you really gotta put in that action, because then how you gonna really like learn?
Yeah.
You know, you have to learn through experience, because
Mm-hmm.
through experience you get the understanding.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the talking is just talking.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you can't say I love you. You know what I mean? Show me.
Mm-hmm.
Show me so I could feel it. You know, so I could like sense that love. Like, oh nah, like my lady loves me or my mom loves me. Like
Mm-hmm.
my mom ain't never tell me I love you, and I started feeling it. You know what I mean? When I was a little kid, like it's because certain things she did.
Yeah.
You know, so to go back to it, you know, because you asked me personally, how do I do it? I feel like action.
Yeah.
For sure.
And what are the actions like? Because I feel like in the short time that I've got a chance to like share space with you, I'm like you're a loving person. You know what I mean? And so like, how do you love? Like how do you show people love?
Well, I feel like I show people love. Well, just in numerous ways. You gotta like study what they love.
Mm.
You know, not everybody gonna love the same. You know, but I do know overall though, you know, there is some things that I feel like everybody loves,
Yeah.
which is like appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Like being heard.
Mm-hmm.
You know, companionship.
Yeah.
You know, things like that is the way I just show love to people. You know, and also like listening to understand, not to respond.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because then the person then understands, oh nah, this person's hearing me, hearing me out, and like that just goes back in line with appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yo, I appreciate you for listening to me,
Mm-hmm.
because you know everybody in the world, period, or not everybody, but it feel like majority of the world just want to get across what they want to get across.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, damn, dogs, like, you know what I mean? Like, let them have the spotlight too.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, those are some ways I could think off the top of my head. You know, aside from like specific personalized things that you can like get a sense of those people. You know, so yeah.
When you like, cause you mentioned like actions, like you show love through action. Where does that like? Do you feel like that's something that's always been a part of who you are? Do you feel like that's like something that's newer? Yeah, like where does where does that loving energy come from you?
The first person I think of is my grandma. I ain't gonna lie. My grandma, say like my grandma, like that. That's the first person I think of, cause like, shit, grandma never had a fight. She barely argue.
Yeah.
I see her so innocent, and I feel like as you get older, like, and the ego start, trickling in, it's like you start to go left, right, up, and down,
Yeah.
But when I look at my grandma, I see like still the same pureness as if I look at a child, and like when I see that, I get so inspired, and I'm like, nah, like, and she will always be like, oh, make sure you good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Be good today, little things like that. And I'm like, how can I guess that love, that the pureness and that love that she's giving me is so powerful that I'm like, nah, I can't do the opposite.
Yeah.
And that's the first person I think of, like, to answer your question, that's the first person I think of, and of where that comes from,
Yeah.
where it stems from, as well as other people, because it takes a village to raise a child.
Definitely.
But yeah, shout out to my grandma. You heard?
Yeah, I can see the light, man. Like there's a very noticeable smile when when that thought hit of you thinking about your grandma. So that's really beautiful, man.
Side note too, like right here, like talking about the light, right? This is our logo for the brand. Me and my brother created Luminous Lifestyle, and it's a light bulb, and we here to turn everybody light bulb on, right? And when you see it, I mean, I can't really see it all the way, but Carter, what year that says? Bronx,
1952.
1952, and obviously I wasn't born then.
Yeah.
But that's when Grandma was born. So we've been rocking here since 1952. You heard?
Yeah.
Shout out to Mama, I love you. You heard? I know you're gonna see this with a cup of coffee in the AM. Even though I'd rather you have tea and CMOS, but we gonna get there. Word, man.
I love that, man. I love that. With that, like, because what I was hearing is just like the importance of like that innocence piece,
Right.
and like how do you hold on to that? How do you keep that throughout your life? Because I feel like it's like so much stuff's happening in the world, you know what I mean? And so there is a very intentional like effort and work to maintain that, And so how have you, like, the inspiration that you gotten from your grandma about that? How do you bring that into like your life?
I feel like it's just like certain things you're gonna go through. And it's just like choices you're gonna have to make, and I feel like grandma just always there. I'm like in the back of my mind or subconscious, like I'm always hearing her voices and thinking of my younger cousins and, now my nieces, and just I feel like I see their pureness and like when we spoke, like when we were speaking before, the cameras was rolling, how we was just talking about like I was telling you, I'm an emotional person.
Yeah.
So like, I'll cry for joy, I'll cry for sad, I'll cry for whatever emotion, you know what I mean? And I feel like that then helped me like stay humble too. And to me, when you humble, that you still hold intact of the pureness.
Yeah.
Cause at any moment it could be all over for this realm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, so to speak, And I feel like when you get to that certain awareness, it's like, in a sense, that's like the only option. Showing people gratitude and yeah, that's what I could think of top of my head right now.
Yeah. What I was hearing was like, because even like the expression of like strong emotions, you know what I mean, and like just letting that release, because I feel like crying is like super healthy.
Facts.
You know what I mean? And like some people have like this like belief on what crying is. It's like, oh, it's sweet, blah blah blah. But I'm like,
Right.
a good cry,
Facts.
a good cry, man. Like, anytime I've had a chance to like release in that way, I always feel lighter. You know what I mean? And especially because I'm like, something that's been coming up is like, especially, I've having a chance to talk to more men, of like just the emotional maturity, or just like be able to have space to express different emotions outside of like anger and rage. You know what I mean? And how like when you said like, yo, I allow myself to cry for different moments, it just made me think of like just how freeing that is. You know what I mean? But then also like it made me think of like the innocence of like, yo, I'm not having this pressure that society told me about what it means to cry. And that's like, nah, I'm gonna do that. So that's like really dope that you make space for that, man.
Right. Well, thank you. And
Yeah.
that also made me think of like, you know, from like how you said society putting the light on like, oh, if you cry, you weak or whatever the case may be. But for all my badasses out there, y'all damn well know that when Mama Love whooped that ass and y'all was crying,
Yeah.
that might have been one of the best rests y'all ever had. So that's all facts right there. So we ain't gonna act like you ain't enjoy that scene.
Sleeping hella good.
Feel me? So it's like just imagine that for your soul.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Word.
And maybe without the ass whooping.
Right, exactly.
You know what
Definitely
I mean?
without the eyes whooping.
Not without the
You know
ass
what I mean?
whooping, you know what I mean? You know, so nah, I feel you on that. I feel you on that. I think we might have talked about this, but I always love to ask this question. It's like, what's been your favorite lesson about love that you've learned from a woman?
Favorite lesson. Sheesh. I think the first thing that pops up in my head is that it's a process.
Mm.
That love is a process. And a process for both individuals,
Yeah.
you know, and then which makes it even another process collectively.
Yeah.
Because we learn in different ways to love ourselves as individuals. Sometimes we may not be feeling it, you know, as far as feeling ourselves, which makes it, which trickles on to, you know, with each other.
Yeah.
You know, especially going the distance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for being in a X amount of time relationship. You know, this is like me and my lady behind the cameras. You know what I mean? Like we've been together for 5 years. You know, so it's like through all that, people be asking, "Hey, yo, how is it? How is it, y'all? You know what I mean? Y'all stay for so long." And then I sit back like, "Shit, well, it don't even feel like no 5 years." Like, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes it could feel like a lifetime. Sometimes it could feel wild short. You know, but I would just say like the process overall, you know, has taught us like different just ways to love ourselves, you know, because that's the most important thing, you know, like loving yourself as an individual and remember you're an individual.
Yeah.
Because there's been many times where like we start like moving as one, you know, and then that's when things start to resentment starts to happen, you know, and a bunch of other things in that umbrella. But during that process, you know, we start to remember like, oh nah, I want shrimp and broccoli today.
Yeah.
And she want pizza.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool. None of us need to compromise. Get pizza, I get shrimp and broccoli. You know what I mean? And this literally happened last night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I ain't gonna lie. When she got the pizza, I ate. That shit was busting too. I was like, damn, this drink way fresher than my drink. But like, you know, it's a process though. You know, and that's. I feel like there's a bunch of things I could say. You know, and could talk about that for a minute. But overall, just that it's a process.
And how has that, like that awareness of the process? 'Cause I feel like that's such a critical piece, right? How has that informed other relationships? So outside of just even the romantic space, how has that informed your relationship with friends, family? How has that informed your relationship with family and friends? Or impacted, maybe?
Well, definitely impacted from giving them more grace, a lot more grace, and my mom, right? Like, she told me like when I was younger, there was a certain period of her life where she used to drink a lot. You know what I mean? After a while, she just cold turkey stopped. And there will be times we'll go to family functions, you know, or we at a restaurant, and you know, me, my cousins, brothers, we all sipping, and, you know, and she right there, you know, and I always wonder, I'm like, damn, she don't even get like influenced to want to take a shot or something like that. Like she just like, oh nah, chilling, but not judging as well, you know. And she told me, like, you never truly detach from something until you could be around it and it doesn't affect you. You know, so when I started learning that, I started taking that to like places where, for example, if I take a 3-month break in smoking like I have been, you know, and I'll go around my brother or my friends and we all just chilling, you know, on the block and they smoking. And I'm over here like, granted, I could be as far as in like, oh, I'm good on that, detached from that sense. But then again, I start to like judge or start being preachy as if I just wasn't there, you know, or as if I was like more on the on the other side than that specific, you know, place that they at, you know. And I feel like that process is allowing me to be like, you know what, they gonna get it, you know, they gonna understand it, and I'm gonna be right here, you know what I mean, giving them grace, showing them love, regardless of where they at. It's like one of my boys too that I see, like, and my boy Benny Blanco, like, you know, shout out to my boy Benny, like, you know, he used to come to the studio with me all the time, comes to the studio with me, and like there's a certain time in his life where, you know, like he ended up started smoking angel dust, you know, and it was a very hard time, you know what I mean, for the community, and he still dip and dabble with it, you know, and like, but every time I seen him, no matter what, I done seen people treating him differently. And he was the man of the block, you know, to being like that in that level, you know. And it's like, you truly see somebody's character when you see how they treat a person that they feel like is less than them, you know. And it's like, through that whole process, like, you know, we still giving grace, we still showing love, we still, I don't care if you ain't take a shower for a week, 2 weeks. Say, yo, what up, baby? Pull up, give me a hug. You know what I mean? Like, and a tight hug too, not just no like, stir baby a quick. You know what I mean? Like, you know, embrace that, embrace him. You know, let him feel that love, because he gonna want to be around it. And when he get around that love, a loving thought or a positive thought, just 1,000 more times stronger than that negative thought. You know, so that's gonna overpower. You know what I mean? But if you not leading with that and not showing grace and all that along the process, then that's a dub, you know? So that's how I impacted that.
I love that, man. It's like, I mean, like, as you're talking, it's just this reminder of like re-emphasizing just how much of a loving person you are, you know, and the intentionality of like, yo, I'm gonna still, it made me think about unconditionality, which is like something that's, you know, it's important, you know. It's like, I'm gonna love you beyond these different things. So regardless of if you were in this particular phase or this particular phase, I'm still gonna show love to you. So that's really cool. I know we were talking earlier too, man. You mentioned like you're the oldest sibling, you know. So I was curious of like, how has that informed like how you love others? You know what I mean? Because I was just talking to my oldest brother, and you know, it's like, it's so much responsibility that comes with being the oldest sibling. You know what I mean? And like, as me being the youngest, I don't really know it, you know what I mean? But I would be curious, you know, I would love to hear from you, like, how do you feel like that's informed, like, just how you understand love, how you see love, how you express love?
Well, I noticed that from being an older sibling from my understanding, my personal experience, I felt like I always had to be like the rock, you know, and almost like not showing any signs of weakness, you know, or stress or like anger, like I overall the rock,
Yeah.
you know, and at a certain time I definitely used to be like that, you know, and I still feel like that, you know, the protector, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't think that's ever gonna go away,
Yeah.
to be honest, you know, but you learn how to just release it in different ways and know when to step up and step back, you know. But I felt like it, like, you know, going through school, you know, being in school, whether middle school, high school, you know, summer college, and or wherever communities you really at, like feeling what like whether I be on like a, let's say, on a baseball team, you know what I mean, and my coach having strong leadership, and they saying something motivational or whatever, or I see an interview and I see, excuse me, and I see one of my favorite rappers or whomever, like, you know what I mean, have that strong leadership, and I'll be like, and I understand how it make me feel.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, you done gave me a spiritual hug and you
Yeah.
ain't even know, you know what I mean? So it's like, after a while, you know, I noticed that I'm like, shit, I gotta be the same way, you know, as far as in being that leadership role, and you know, and showing my brothers the route,
Yeah.
you know, or showing my sister, you know, how a man's supposed to treat her,
Yeah.
you know, or just showing her, just showing them the ropes, period, you know, and they showed me the ropes too, though,
Yeah.
you know, so, but I'll say I don't even, at first I thought the word was, you know, hard,
Yeah.
you know, challenging or whatever, but it's like we all going through the process, and I'll say as the oldest sibling,
Yeah.
it's okay to not have the most wisdom. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to it's okay to be okay. You know, and just, you know, take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw, you know what I mean, and just know when to lead.
You said something, it's okay to be okay. What do you mean when you say that?
Meaning just like, because of being the rock is like more like you creating a persona. You know, you like, oh nah, everything is good. You know, or you know, and it's like sometimes you don't feel too excited about yourself. You know, sometimes you just feel okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You don't feel all the way great. You know, as simple as that. Like, you know, and it's like, it's okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I feel you on that. That makes sense. I was waiting for the sirens to like slow down a bit.
oh, I did. Yeah.
I think we get now. Another thing that's come up, because I'm like, actually no, I want to go somewhere different with that. Yeah. So like I know we've kind of been talking about like how you express love, but how do you receive love? How do your loved ones love you?
They give me attention. They give me attention. And sometimes, But it's all depending who you're talking to. I mean, or who's giving it to me.
Yeah.
When it come from like my lady, like I like sometimes like I like to act like a little baby.
Yeah.
I'll be like, oh man, like, you know, and she just treat me like a like, you know what I mean. So it's all dependent, but then you can see like, you know, my dog like.
Yeah.
I walk in the crib and then he over here on 1,000. And I just be like, oh damn, he's happy to see me.
Yeah.
Like, this is cool because it's not like, you know, you walk in like to like our siblings or whomever and they tail not waggling.
Yeah.
You know, they not running around the crib. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, you know, it's all
At least somebody in the house.
Right, I'm like, oh shit, he jumping all over the couch from here to him. Right, you know, it's like. It's all, you know, it's all dependent, and it's like I say, you know, my little sister, you know, when she just check in, like, oh, you good, you know what I mean, or just like, or you know, if I'm sitting down and she's standing up, she'll just like literally grab my head and put it against like her chest or whatever, just her body part, like, you know what I mean, like just bringing me in, and I'll be like, it makes me feel like just loved. Like, it makes me feel like a kid too.
Yeah.
You know, being wrapped.
Yeah.
My brother, like when my brother, like, when he'd be like, yo, I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Shit make me emotional a little bit just even saying that. I had to tell him like, shit, hold on. But you know, he that shit, like, cause I see him, you know, he my little big brother, you know, my brother Roots. You know, when he say I'm proud of you and he say those things, I'll be like I don't even give a fuck what the whole world say after that.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what y'all think? You know what I mean? And then, you know, my little brother Dave, when I see little things like we got a workout group, you know, right now. It's called Luminous Ones. And when I seen him post a video the other day, I was like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like that positivity is just trickling. You know what I mean? I like to because, you know, we from the block and it can appear sometimes like we move it with like being aggressive. I want to be aggressive with positivity, but not necessarily like forcing it upon anybody. But just as far as you can feel this presence and you can feel that strength that it ain't nothing to do but fall in line, but without a force.
Yeah.
You know, just having that balance. You know, so when I see him do certain things, then I'm like, oh shit, you was listening. You know, so that makes me feel love. You know, I just all around the attention, you know, how I said in the beginning, from everybody, but it's just different certain ways, you know. Just making it known, however they make it known that whatever I'm saying is not falling on deaf ears.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how I received that.
Made me think of like recognition.
By recognition.
Recognition.
Right.
Like just like there's different ways that your loved ones recognize you, but just that within itself, it's like seeing you.
Right.
I mean, seeing you and also in the ways it's like allowing you to and like because when we were talking about being a rock earlier.
Right.
And so like also like one of the ways in which like your loved ones love you is also like making space for you to also be someone who can like lean on someone else, not always have to be the one that's being leaned on. You know what I mean? Because that is like a lot of responsibility. You know, so just like that's kind of what I was hearing when you were talking about that.
Facts.
That's dope, man. That's dope. Okay. So we're about to enter into like the next part of our conversation, which is called dropping gems. So I have this lovely bowl that has the current Palo Santo stick in it. So I'm gonna put the Palo Santo stick right here. But in this bowl, there's different aspects of love. So there's like friendship love, family love, self-love, romantic love, spiritual love. All right. And so I'm gonna pick one out the bowl, and then I'm gonna act, you know, based off of whatever one's random. So as you see, it's different ones. All right. It's different ones, y'all. All right. There's no tricks to this. All right. But I'm gonna pick one and pretty much gonna ask you like, what's your favorite gem about this particular type of love, and how did you learn this gem, or why is it your favorite gem? All right. So, Before I pick, let me actually just fold this up because I feel like I gotta fold this up a little bit more because it looks a little too familiar. I must didn't do a good job. Yeah. I want integrity, y'all. All right, no cheating. All right. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so we have another another jingle. So you ready?
Let's get it on.
Say we dropping gems. Hey, 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 say we dropping gems.
Oh my God,
gems,
now.
gems.
Let's get it on, baby. Gems.
Wow, yo, honestly, man, like you're the best, man. I'm so far, like I'm like no one else ad libs. I mean, bro.
That's the rapping.
Hey, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, damn, natural, man. All right, let's see what we got here today. Dun, 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 dun. 1, 2, 3.
That's it right
I
there.
think I was like, that's the one that
came out like, nah, I want that.
It said, damn, popped out. That ain't never happened before. Let's see what this one is. Dun, dun. Yep, I had a feeling it was this one. Spiritual love.
Sheesh.
Spiritual love. Dun, dun, dun. All right, so what is your favorite gem about spiritual love? And why is that your favorite gem? Or how did you learn that gem?
A bunch of things is like flowing through my mind.
What's coming up for you?
I would say like something that keeps coming up is like the word timeless. Yeah, so I'm gonna zone in on that. And I would say like one of my favorite gems about spiritual love is that it's timeless. And that yeah, that's a goodie. I ain't gonna lie, that's a goodie. But yeah, the thing that comes up in my head, like once again, it's just timeless. It's not even to get too deep in it, but just timeless is what keeps coming up. It being that it's timeless and there's no timeless or priceless. You know, that comes up in my head as well. And I think I said this in the beginning, but just as far as in how love is a universal language.
Yeah.
So we may be right here, but our spirit is up traveling the universe. You know, so when you travel the universe, I know damn well you're not paying no plane ticket. You know what I mean? So that's another reason why it's priceless right there, you know? And it's also timeless because you could be there and back just like that. But I feel like love just drives us, you know, I don't want to say quicker, but I'll say at the same speed that the spirit moves. Meaning like, for example, when you asked me that question, the first thing that popped up in my head was Thomas. Intuition, off rip, telling me that. It was probably before you even finished. As soon as I'm over here peeking, like looking at it, I'm like, that sound what is S? All right, what he said again? All right, that's spiritual.
Yeah.
It's like my mind was already saying timeless, but then I started going through the other thoughts. Like, oh, is that the right answer? Is it not? You know? But it's like, nah, dogs. Like, it's timeless.
Yeah.
There's, you don't have to wait a certain time length to consider it love. You know, you could love right then and there.
Yeah.
You know, because that's like, that's our main way of living as a spirit. To me, like, the highest spirits vibrate from love.
Mm.
You know, and
Mm-hmm.
and just that thought alone to me is priceless.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. How has like the timelessness of like spiritual love? So I know you like. I love what you just said about just like the highest spirits like vibrate are informed by love. You know, said vibrate off of love. Um, and that's like instantly just thought of just the different people in my life. You know, I'm like operate off of love and just how that their energy is. You know what I mean? Um, how has that informed like just you? Like how has like spiritual love and this timelessness um, informed like how you love?
Yeah, repeat it one more time.
Yeah. How is the timelessness of spiritual love? Or just because I feel like it's not even spiritual love, it's really like, like spiritual love teaches us that, well, actually, let me actually clarify, ask a clarifying question. Would you say that spiritual love teaches us that love is timeless? Or is that spiritual love in particular is timeless? Or something different?
I'll say that spiritual love is timeless.
Mm.
The reason being, because once again, the spirit don't know time. That's all, Fred.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't move in a calendar,
Yeah.
you know, or in the society's calendar, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And yeah, there was one thing you said right before that though. What was the first half of the question? If you remember, you said, "Is it timeless or does it teach us?"
Teach like this spiritual love teaches that love is timeless.
The spiritual love teaches that love is timeless.
Mm-hmm.
I think both those questions you said is like correct.
Yeah.
Because it's like the spirit is what's driving the human experience.
Mm.
That's really the driver.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and the flesh is just the car.
Yeah.
You know, so it's giving us whatever signs it needs to give us through the universe to then let the flesh express it.
Mm.
But like how I said before, when I thought of the word timeless, it was off rip.
Yeah.
My spirit already told me.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went through my human brain,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to be like, is this the correct way,
Yeah.
etc., you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like through enough of those, you know, and you start to like just really listen to your intuition, which is the spirit,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you know, it's just showing us what love really is,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And yeah, and how it is timeless and how you always loved.
Yeah.
You know, you always was love. You always felt love. You know, it was pushing nothing but love out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but through certain like trials and tribulations, you may have like started putting like a certain camouflage over your spirit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and trying to block its light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the spirit too strong.
Yeah.
It's gonna shine. You know, and sooner or later, it's like, for example, right? think of it as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
We all know the episode when Squidward fell in love with the Krabby Patty. His spirit been loved the Krabby Patty. He was fronting, you know what I mean? He was capping,
Yeah.
doing it for the gram.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he was just fronting like he ain't like that, but his spirit knew he liked that. But he was putting all this camouflage on, trying to be tough, trying to be the you know, the awkward guy.
Yeah.
We all know how Squidward is, and,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know, he's grumpy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he channels through love.
Mm.
But once he ate that burger, he knew that already. He knew he loved that.
Yeah.
But when he plays his clarinet, you know what I mean? So I'll say that's like the best way as like going back to like, and me, the fact that I'm saying this as an adult and I saw that as a kid just shows the timeless effect too as well.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, shout out to my boy Squidward. Make sure you give all the Squidward some extra love, man. You know, but yeah, let's not see that.
I have one follow-up question to that, which is like the timelessness of love. How does that shape how you love, though? You know, like the timelessness of spiritual love. How does that shape how you love or express love?
I'll say it makes me makes the thoughts of like saying, oh, it's too late to have a relationship with my pops.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Or it's too late to build a tight relationship with my sister.
Mm.
Or damn, I haven't spoke to this person like this in a while. Or I'm like whether, you know, FaceTiming my grandma, you know what I mean? Or just all these things, just basically making those thoughts disappear. Like, oh nah, it's not too late for nothing.
Mm.
You know, we right on time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because we could only be right on time.
Yeah.
You know, divine timing.
Mm-hmm.
And that divine timing, like I said, ain't following the calendar. Doesn't have a clock or a rollie.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's straight timeless.
Yeah.
And that, through remembering that, it's just like, all right, cool. I know how I felt a moment ago. I know how I felt yesterday, etc. You know, and me saying a moment ago or yesterday is still me, is my human thoughts labeling those things. But when I really tap in and think of my spirit, you know, it's like, it's the perfect time.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You know, and it's like it's being able to be aware of that is such a big deal too. You know what I mean? And like also acknowledging that sometimes like people might be far away from that awareness. And from like your standpoint, how can people get closer to that awareness? You know what I mean? Or like, what's the step to be able to be more in tune into the spirit in that way? Because I do think this, like, you know, as I was like listening, it made me think about like the spirit is wise. We have that wisdom within us and that intuition. And so like in those moments where we might be doubting something, or we like, it's like trusting that intuition to know like this is actually going to bring us closer to love, or this is going to allow us to love, whether it's loving ourselves or loving others. And, you know, similar to which is like a theme around like there's these external distractions that can get in the way and can sometimes put like in this, not even like it could be a camouflage, be intentionally camouflage, but then sometimes there's certain things that like, I would say like barriers, maybe create barriers for us that prevent us from being able to be as in tune to our intuition or our spirit in that way. So I was curious of like, what advice or, you know, what advice would you offer to someone who's like, I'm trying to be more in tune to that spirit, to be able to like, just have access to that knowledge, and not to say that we don't have, like we all have access to it, but how, what advice would you offer to someone who's trying to get that information?
Don't be too hard on yourself. Go through all the emotions. like all the emotions, you know, and remember how they make you feel, and whichever you enjoy the most, you know, those feelings. Remember what making you feel like that, and just like do that as much as you can, you know. But don't like belittle the other sides too that make you feel the opposite of that. And I say the best thing really is like the process. Like really just enjoy the process. It's like, cause we could have this moment of peacefulness, grace, gratitude, you know, and as soon as I dip, I may get a phone call that's gonna blow mine. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, damn, son, we were just having a great convo and I'm over here tight out of nowhere. Yeah. For what? Yeah. You know, and but that same situation that got me angry, whatever the situation was, or you know, it's just making me appreciate this even more. So then I strive to be in certain environments and energy like this. Yeah. You know, and just enjoying the ride. Yeah. Literally just enjoying the ride, because I don't even want to give, like, sometimes I feel like the worst vice could be advice. You know what I mean? So sometimes I don't really even want to be giving too much advice. You as a viewer, as a listener, as a friend, whomever is going to be listening to this, as well as our inner selves, like, take what you want from it. Yeah. You know, your spirit knows what it needs to hear. Yeah. You know, and just acknowledge it and be like, all right, bet, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that. Because that's what I would do. Yeah. You know, and that's what I do when I listen to whomever. Like, even just walking down the street, I may just catch a piece of a conversation like, oh, all right, copy. I needed that. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like, or not even verbally, I may see a certain quote on the wall, graffiti, or somebody's shirt that says something, or whatever the case may be, you know? And just know that you're unique. Yeah. You know, we all going through similar emotions, just different experiences. You know, but like how I said, enjoy the process, go through all emotions, and just whatever makes you feel the best, strive to be as in that environment, energy as much as you can. Yeah. But when you feeling the other way, it's okay too. Yeah. Yeah. Hearing like making space for it all, but then also being intentional of the spaces that you're in, and like leaning into that more. So if it's like you want to be more attuned to the intuition, you know, or even just like being in a loving space, you gotta be around more loving people. Right. You know what I mean? So it's just like figuring out what you need in order to get that. Right. You know, so thank you for sharing that, man. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. I like the way too. After I say something, then you be like, "Oh, I'm hearing this," and I'm like, "Ooh." I like the way you worded that. I'm like, "Sheesh, like good shit." Well, okay, like I'm like, okay, yeah. Nah, man. But you know, as we come to like the end of the episode, man, I always love to ask, like, you know, so in the book All About Love, Bell Hooks talks about the invitation for people to return back to love, right? And so we'd love to pose the question to you, like, how can people return back to love? Turn back to love. Give yourself a hug. It's okay. Give yourself a hug. Like, I'm talking about right now. As you, no matter where you at, you could be on the bus listening. People gonna look at you weird or whatever. Forget that. If you're not shy enough to, and if they look approachable, give them a hug too. Fuck it. Know what I mean? But if something happens, my fault. I was just trying to spread the love. You know what I mean? But you know, but like, yeah, I say just like I said before, like the emotions. You know what I mean? Going through the emotions and seeing what what you feel the most like good in, you know what I mean? So the way to return back to that love is just like do a bunch of stuff. Like just try things out. And just go through certain experiences, maybe go on a solo date, spend some time by yourself, you know, have that get that elevation through your isolation, you know, and just like be able to enjoy your own presence without any like other opinions, you know, because opinions at times can be like the lowest form of thought, you know what I mean? And it's like have time for yourself, enjoy that. If you have somebody you love, tell them that, because it's gonna make you feel love. You know, and shit. Like I said, give and get some hugs, man.
Yeah, man.
I feel like a good hug, you know what I mean? But oh shit, like, you know, it's like because you in your mother's womb, you know, you coming out whether y'all have the best relationship now or not, you know, but like you over here secure, you know, in the belly, you know. So it's like I feel like that's a big thing right there, like just feeling safe, and, you know what I mean? Feeling like warm, you know, feeling like you getting a big hug, like, you know, so
feeling embraced.
Yeah, and if you don't feel like you want to give hugs, like Carter just said, just feeling embraced, go to that energy, go to your homies, you know what I mean? Go to your girlfriends, you know what I mean? Like and yeah, or go to nature, you know what I mean? And just go through the emotions, embrace it all, embrace it all.
Love that. Yeah, I feel like we gotta take a moment to give our own selves. We gotta give a hug ourselves, man. We gotta come on, you know. Yes, self love, right?
You know it feel good, right?
You know what I mean? Like that makes a difference. You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, like
For real.
Nah, man, but I really appreciate that, man. I feel like it's so important, and it's yeah, I just think like the embracing of self, and especially something that you said about like just opinions can be like the lowest form of thoughts, man. And like being able to like learn what it means to enjoy your presence, you know, and explore what that looks like, but then also know that you have access to the community of people to love you as well, and you love them as well. It's important. So thank you for offering that into the space, man. Yeah, man, I really, really am thankful for you like pulling up to the episode, bro. It's been like a amazing conversation, you know what I mean? And yeah, I'm thankful for you.
Thank you, likewise, bro. My boy Carter.
Sure, man.
Likewise, bro.
So with that being said, you know, thank you, homies, for tuning into another episode of the Palo Santo and Thoughts podcast. If you haven't had a chance to read the book All About Love, New Visions by Bell Hooks, I highly recommend that you get it for sure. And also, before we go, do you want to share socials?
I was thinking about buying a copy because I ain't even get to read the book either.
Oh, bro, you gotta
make
get
sure
it,
you
man.
cop out too. Cop out.
You gotta get it.
Really show love. You know? No pun intended, but my socials. I'm over here trying to remember. At Canvas the Future. You know, at Canvas the Future. But like my boy Carter's bio says, we hella present. You heard?
Very much so. Very much so. And you can follow me at the Palo Santo and Thoughts. And we're so thankful for you joining and tuning into another episode. We hope you have a lovely morning, lovely day, evening, and until next time, peace.
Sir.